Compassion is key to any leader. I'm going to share a few stories or a story with you that really touched me. Understand why compassion is key for leaders. I'm Dr. J with 2Doc Mind, and thank you for joining our channel. Compassion is critical for any leader. And why do I say that? Well, when you're managing employees or when you're managing people, right, having a certain level of compassion for who they are, what they're going through, and how you can provide support for them is very critical. And I'm making this YouTube video because I was thinking about a story that happened to me a few years back. It was a very emotional story and I wanted to share with you. I'm not gonna say any names. I'm not gonna go into, who it was, but I wanted to share with you not only the story, but how I handle it in my leadership role and what that meant to the employee. So at that time I was working in the financial field. I was managing in a finance and administration area of an organization, a pretty large organization, about $250 million in revenue. And one of my key employees was always seemed to be on Mondays and Wednesdays seemed to be late to work, and you can tell that the employee came to work and wasn't focused. And what was so significant about that moment was that that employee was one of my best workers, came to work every day, worked hard, was focused, very productive, very efficient, was able to give me a lot of information so I can make some critical decisions about the organization. So it was a very key member of our team. And so all of a sudden I started noticing the trend of Mondays and Wednesdays being late or not focused, in some cases even missing. So, your initial reaction as a leader is certain people, getting frustrated, bringing people in the office and begin, the process of writing someone up without really truly understanding, what someone is going through. But my leadership style, I want to know what my people are going through. I want to know what's going on in their lives. And I knew this individual had a beautiful wife and had 3 wonderful kids. And when he got home, tending to his family and being part of that family life and culture and having that, that work-life balance was very critical. And so with that, I understand the importance of family. So, I brought the individual into my office and, and we're just sitting back like I'm sitting back in this chair, just having conversations like we always did. I didn't mention, you're always late now, you're missing jobs and you're missing key assignments. What's going on? I didn't jump into that initially. I actually didn't jump into it at all. I simply asked, how are you doing? How are you feeling? You seemed a little distracted lately. What's going on with you? Those were the questions that I asked. And I wasn't prepared totally for what I was going to hear, but what I did hear, really struck me emotionally because I have a wife and I have, 3 wonderful kids. And so I understood in his story how that impacted me. And so what I learned is that his wife was ill. She was suffering from cancer and they caught it at a very, very late stage. And, basically there was very little that they could do, right? Besides make his wife comfortable. And she was going through a lot, but, really didn't go to the hospital and really do the things that was needed that could have been done to kind of go early, and many of us don't. We don't like to go to hospitals. And so the reason why he was late is because medical appointments was on Mondays and Wednesdays. And he had to take her because she needed that support to get in and out. And, her energy level was very, very low. So where do we talk about compassion? The first thing I said, after I gave, keep them in our prayers and all that good stuff, ask, how can I help you? How can I support you and your wife and your family through this? How can our family here at this job and organization be of support to you? And we talked about things. And this was before virtual work was like the thing, right? This was before that pandemic. And, what I told them is that on those days, I don't want you to worry about that working, while you're dealing with that. Gave them a laptop, gave them a computer and said, when you have free time, you can bring home this work and you can do it at home. And this was very taboo in our office at that time. So, being able to have that flexibility to do it. I also talked to him about FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act, I think it is, and told him about some of those things. He ended up running out of time, sick time and vacation time because he had to take so much time off. And I remember saying, take that laptop home. Don't take the days off. If you spend an hour writing the emails and following up, we'll take care of you. And we had that compassion. A little later, maybe 6-8 weeks later after that conversation, subsequent conversations, his wife passed. And, he took time off for all the funeral arrangements, and I made sure that he was getting paid, and we worked through his timesheet and everything so that he could get paid because he ran out of time. Finally, his parents came in to help support him, really starting to get on his feet, a little later. And about 6 months later, we had a very honest conversation in the office. And in that conversation, he expressed how much that meant to him and his family, that we didn't have to do that for him. But, we're a workforce and we have to take care of ourselves. And that compassion for people we have to have. And at that time, I was just doing what I thought was right. But looking at it, 6 months later and hearing him talk about how that impacted his family for the positive, how it allowed him to be present in the moment with his family, I think was really critical. But as he told those stories at one of our staffing events where he had hundreds of people in there, how that emotional moment for him, changed the perspective, not only him, but many of our colleagues and that worked with us. And what you learn through those stories and those examples is that for any leader, whether you're a young leader, whether you're an experienced leader, whether you're a growing leader in any way, the people in which you're leading and the people that are working alongside of you, you have to make sure you have a compassion about who they are as people, as human beings, as workers. Because when you have that, you have a recipe for success. So as you go through your journey as leadership, make sure, no matter what the bottom line is, no matter what the culture is, make sure you put your people first. Make sure you are compassionate about what they're doing. Make sure you care about what they're going through. Because I can tell you, years later, he was one of my most dedicated, dominant, and productive employees that I've ever worked with. He gave me his all every day, because when he went through his toughest moment in his life, he had somebody that was there with him. Not just in words, but made action so that we can make that time in his life the most comfortable. So with that, compassion is key. I'm Dr. Mitchell with Two Doc Minds. I want you to make a comment, maybe share a story with me. I want you to subscribe and hit that notification bell because we're going to have a lot more content. Thank you. Again, I'm Dr. J.